One word and one silence. Did a frozen TV moment just reveal a plan to federalize the National Guard? I'll unpack the legal fight, with Maya tracing the historical risks to civil liberties and Leo parsing the forensic statutes and courtroom stakes. Stay with us. Tonight, one word and one silence. Stephen Miller says the president has plenary authority under Title 10. Then freezes. Was it a glitch, a gaffe, or a glimpse into the White House's legal playbook? That clip ignited a fight over federalizing the National Guard. Here is the verified timeline. On October 6th, on CNN, Miller touted an appeal filed to the Ninth Circuit and cited a prior win on federalizing the California Guard. He began, under Title 10, the president has plenary authority. Then went silent, returned after break, and dropped the word plenary.
People heard plenary authority and gasped. A commentator put it bluntly, plenary means complete in every respect, absolute, unqualified. If that is the frame, it collides with the Constitution's checks and balances and with the limits Congress built into domestic use of troops.
Or it collides with Twitter. Title 10 and the Insurrection Act are real statutes. They exist for moments when local resources fail or federal interests need protection. Saying authority is broad under law is not saying it is limitless outside the law.
Meanwhile, in court, Judge Karen Immergut temporarily blocked federalization for Portland, citing injury to Oregon's sovereignty and unmet statutory conditions. The administration appealed to the Ninth Circuit and sought a stay. Arguments are set for later this week.
Under Title 10, once Guard units are federalized, they are under posse comitatus limits that generally bar domestic law enforcement. The narrow exceptions are things like protecting federal agents or property or, in rare cases, repelling an invasion or suppressing a rebellion.
And those are not theoretical. If courthouses are attacked or agents threatened, the executive can act. The press secretary promised to end what she called a radical left reign of terror in Portland. You might hate the rhetoric, but the duty to restore order is not invented.
Rhetoric is the point. Oregon's Attorney General called it political muscle under a law and order label. Sending in 200 Guard troops to guard a single building is not normal. That is about power, not safety. Words like plenary signal a hunger for unchecked power.
About that silence on air, CNN said wires got crossed. Others insist he froze after saying the quiet part out loud, or that an aide cut the feed. There is no public evidence proving the deliberate cut theory. What we know is he resumed and avoided the word plenary.
Live TV glitches constantly. If the anchor says it is technical, maybe take yes for an answer. Not everything is a clandestine censor. The substance is what matters. The legal scope, not the meme of a frozen face.
But the substance includes how they spin the law. One viral breakdown argued that even if orders are issued through governors, you cannot commandeer state officials at will. Anti-commandeering is real federalism. Even the claim shows how far they want to push.
Important caveat. Scholars note Title 10 federalization subjects troops to posse comitatus, and the Insurrection Act is broader. How anti-commandeering applies in this channel is contested. Courts must decide if facts meet thresholds, like invasion or inability to enforce federal law.
The administration says it already prevailed in the Ninth Circuit on a similar federalization fight. That matters. Precedent cuts both ways. This is why we have appellate courts, not #juries. A single word slip does not erase the statute or the need to protect people.
Look at the pattern beyond one word. Miller blasted a judge's ruling as an egregious violation and tied it to nullifying the 2024 election by fiat. That is far-right law and order framing that treats dissent as rebellion and invites militarized policing at home.
Quick recap before we widen the lens. We have a viral clip, a pending Ninth Circuit appeal, and a legal clash over Title 10 limits versus executive claims of authority. Now, how does the wider security climate color this debate? In Europe, leaders warn of hybrid warfare, drones over critical sites, undersea cables cut, cyber attacks on airports, malign influence at elections. They argue this is a coherent campaign, not random incidents, and urge unity, deterrence, and rapid response.
Exactly. A European plan called Readiness 2030 aims to mobilize massive defense spending and even a drone wall for swift interception. The line is clear. If we hesitate, the gray zone expands. Every square centimeter must be protected and safe. That is resolve.
And it is collective, with clear oversight, not one man claiming absolutes. Deterring foreign aggression is not the same as sending federalized troops to police a protest. Do not smuggle a foreign war frame into domestic civil society and call it safety.
Legally, the distinction matters. Title 10 generally bars using the military for domestic law enforcement. Narrow uses exist, but courts scrutinize them. The Insurrection Act is a different, more expansive tool, historically invoked in emergencies, and it faces heavy tests.
Protecting federal buildings, agents, and property is not policing every protester. If a governor will not help, the federal government cannot shrug. People want order, and statutes are there for a reason. You cannot demand safety and then ban the tools that provide it.
People also want rights. Deployments can escalate, chill speech, and turn tense scenes into crackdowns. When the White House frames opponents as terrorists, it blurs the line between crime and dissent. That is how emergencies become pretexts for permanent power.
Let's talk process. In another chamber abroad, a presiding officer brushed off rule reading by saying the rules are embedded in his bosom, and fast-tracked a confirmation to committees. Different system, but a vivid reminder. Gatekeepers can speed or slow oversight.
And here, our gatekeepers are busy. A district judge enjoined, an appeals court set a hearing, Congress holds the purse and writes the laws. That is not creeping dictatorship. That is a messy republic doing its job while tempers flare on cable news.
Messy can still be tilted. As we saw in that foreign chamber, process can be theater that masks consolidation. Here, when an advisor toys with absolute language, it is a tell. It normalizes the claim so that when push comes, the Overton window has already moved.
Substance check. Legal experts emphasize that Title 10 federalization triggers posse comitatus limits. The Insurrection Act must meet high factual thresholds, and courts have issued mixed outcomes. The prior appellate win exists, so does Judge Immerget's block in Oregon.
So, let the facts decide. If the standard is met, act. If not, stand down. But do not pretend every mention of authority is a coup rehearsal. Sometimes, as Europe reminds us, deterrence and readiness save lives before a crisis spirals out of control.
Then show the facts and the legal memos. Draw bright lines. Stop goading the base with talk of ending reigns of terror and start talking about civil liberty safeguards, time limits, and independent oversight over any domestic deployment of federalized units.
One more nuance on law. There are narrow allowances to protect federal property and ensure continuity of government operations. Even then, troops cannot morph into a general police force. The line between guarding a courthouse and patrolling a city must remain bright.
Maya, if that line is respected, can we agree that guarding a single building that is under sustained threat is a legitimate mission? That is not suppressing dissent. That is preventing arson and assault at a federal site.
If the mission is tightly defined, publicly justified, and rights are protected, we can debate it. What I will not accept is elastic rhetoric about plenary power and the slide from protection to occupation. That slope is real, and history is littered with it.
Fair. And Europe's warning resonates. One incident might be a mistake, two, a coincidence, several's a campaign. Patterns matter. Here, too, patterns of violence or abdication by officials matter when judging whether to use the tools Congress gave the executive.
We are circling the same core questions. What facts justify federalization? What limits bind it? And what did that on-air silence really mean? On the last one, we just do not know. On the first two, judges will weigh them in the coming days.
Until then, keep the focus on law, not vibes. Press for transparent standards, independent oversight, and a hard stop on any domestic troop use that drifts from protection into policing. Do not let one word smuggle in a new normal.
And keep some humility about coverage. Clips go viral, contexts get lost. The Constitution is sturdier than a soundbite, and so is statutory text. Hold the line on rights and responsibilities. Both matter, especially when streets run hot.
Here is what to watch. The Ninth Circuit appeal later this week. Any move toward invoking the Insurrection Act. And whether the court narrows or expands domestic military authority. We will be back after the ruling and any ensuing executive steps. Because that will tell us whether this was just a viral stutter or a preview of a larger redefinition of power at home. Stay with us.